We've already done it. We were aided or assisted volunteers with the Uniting World between 2013 and 2015, based in a 55-bed hospital run by the Church of North India in a tourist town called Manali. It's at the beginning of where the Himalayas get serious, I'd like to say. It's at just under 2,000 metres, and then there's a pass called Rotang just north of it. It's at 4,000, and then it gets... I've gone motorbike riding up there. It gets severely cold and high, and you pant and stuff like that. Anyway, my job was... Lena's job was to be a doctor, and she went at it 120%, and everyone loved her, and she felt great about it. And then she got sick. She overdid it. My job was to, first of all, I wanted somebody who could do some basic theological teaching, and then they discovered that I did this eco stuff, and so the bishop said, "Oh well, we can inform, wanting to keep up to date theologically. I think we can inform our pastors and their congregations about ecotheology." And so I had just about developed a project or plan to go around the diocese and talk about ecotheology and help them institute practical things, tree growing, planting and growing projects, and keeping Manali clean projects and stuff like that. And then we were told to leave. So what I've done since then is an Indian Christian publishing house called ISPCK, Indian SPCK, published my PhD thesis. So there was a quid pro quo in that. They asked me to write a textbook of ecotheology, and I said, "You must be joking. Apart from anything else, I'm an old white guy with a German surname." And they eventually agreed. Well, it didn't take too long to agree. I said it's a lot of work, and I'm not able to spend that much time on it now. But how about we get a team of us together, and in the end we paired off an Indian with Aussie for each of the different chapters. And so I feel that's what I have done. That's how I've helped. That's the way I could help in that particular situation. They now have, they have their own eco-theologians writing anyway. So
what's in an eco-theology textbook?
I hope you can see this.
Oh, cool. Cross-cultural eco-theology in an Indian Ocean context.
Whose Earth, Chapter 1, examining the state of the Earth and the necessity for an eco-theology. So the more scientific stuff, if you like. We had people giving reflections, fairly eminent people in that context giving reflections. Chapter 2, examining the ways in which the Christian faith has both engaged and not engaged in the care of creation. So the mea culpa stuff. Second section, using the resources of faith. Chapter 3 is back to the Bible, so we're looking at the Bible, and again, a reflection on that. The fourth chapter was the Christological chapter, Christological responses to the groaning creation of Romans 8 and beyond. But Romans 8, that's the word groaning puts me anyway instantly in mind of Romans chapter 8. Third chapter in section 2 is chapter 5, eco-theological and Indian tribal spirituality. I have chuckled about this a bit because my colleague and friend now, Jason John, he's an evolutionist Christian and therefore somewhat radical. And we paired him with an Indian woman who is a specialist in tribal theology. And I just thought it was wonderful. Chapter 6, go do likewise. That's living out. It's the practical one. We had Jessica Moorthorpe do that chapter with an young Indian woman, So living out eco-theology in two contexts, India and Australia. And then the third chapter, eco-theology and eschatology. And that's probably what I'm most interested in carrying on with. Endings and beginnings, a conversation, eschatology, beginning, ending, so on, but it's another. One of the basic things you scratch your head, is the world going to be consumed by fire so there's a completely new world, or is this a remade world? And I argue, I think most people do, that it's a remade world, partly because the resurrection of Christ models what God's about. There's death and there's new life and so on. Then chapter 8, living in the here and now. That's another more practical chapter. Not quite the same. Chapter 6 is very practical. You had I think a practical question there in what you sent me. Chapter 6 is about those at Normanhurst put on 48 solar panels. And when we started thinking, we got a committee going, and that's what they decided to do.
Yeah,
I thought about putting on a big battery too, but that wasn't going to be quite good enough at that point. But that's in mind too. I hope I've left there now. Provided a couple of sermons as models in the appendices, and a little bit of information on how to prepare an eco-theological sermon. There's always somebody who's what the Swedes called fire soul, everywhere, and there certainly is in South India. I'm hoping that there'll be development in that direction in North India too.